Welcome to an AI journey into the world of Norse mythology, one of the most influential and captivating mythologies of the world. It comprises the set of beliefs and stories shared by the northern Germanic people from Scandinavia, who during the Middle Ages were known as the Vikings. The Vikings were a seafaring people infamous for their coastal raids against the Christian populations of Europe, but also known for exploring the Atlantic Ocean and North America. They established notable medieval states outside Scandinavia, such as Normandy in northern France and the Kievan Rus in Eastern Europe, in what is now Ukraine. Norse mythology shares strong similarities with the mythologies of other Germanic groups of people, which is why it has echoes in German, Dutch, and English cultures. From European folk tales to the music of Richard Wagner and the books of J.R.R. Tolkien, Norse mythology has continued to influence human imagination. In modern times, we have movie adaptations of Marvel comic book superheroes such as Thor and Loki, who are Norse gods, and we encounter beings such as elves and dwarves in almost every fantasy book or video game. The main texts preserving what we know about Norse mythology are the following: the Poetic Edda, a collection of narrative poems by anonymous authors; the Prose Edda by Snorri Sturluson, a 13th century Icelandic scholar; and the Volsunga Saga, one of the most famous medieval sagas. Norse mythology is extremely complex, with many interconnected worlds existing on the branches of the cosmic tree Yggdrasil and many races to inhabit them. The human race is thought to reside in the middle, and their world is called Midgard. Dwarves are known for their exceptional craftsmanship, spending their time under the ground mining or producing marvelous artifacts in their blacksmiths' workshops. They inhabit a mythical world named Nidavellir. Their main weakness is that they turn to stone if they are exposed to direct sunlight. The elves reside in Alfheim. They are fair and slender beings of light, very skilled in magic, and they live in harmony with nature. The Norse mythology also speaks of dark elves, beings that shun the light and thrive in the shadow, but they are less encountered and are sometimes conflated with dwarves. Another important group is the race of Jotnar, mountain giants living in Jotunheim. The word Jotun, plural Jotnar, is often interpreted to mean giant, though the sizes of these supernatural entities range from that of a normal human, like in the case of Loki, to the immense size of Ymir, who is as large as the world itself. The gods are split into two rivaling families: the Aesir gods from Asgard and the Vanir gods from Vanaheim. Chronologically, Norse myths belong to two categories: events that have happened in the past and influence reality as we see it today, and events that will happen in the future, namely the apocalyptic war Ragnarok, during which the world will be destroyed and will rise again. And now, without further ado, let's see who are the main gods of Norse mythology. Number 1. Surtr, the eternal fire giant. The Norse texts speak of a time before creation, when there was only chaos and the universe was split in half, a world of ice and dark fog called Niflheim, and a world of fire and lava called Muspelheim. Surtr is the guardian of Muspelheim and rules over an army of fire giants like him. He has a flaming sword and a strong appetite for destruction. It is prophesied that at the end times, Surtr and his army will descend from Muspelheim into the created world, burning it entirely. Surtr is a mysterious and unique figure in Norse mythology. His existence spans both the beginning and the end of the world, Number 2. Ymir, the primordial ice giant. Ymir emerged from chaos when the ice of Niflheim met the fire from Muspelheim in a place called Ginnungagap. His awakening signifies the beginning of life and creation in Norse cosmogony. Ymir was nursed by a giant cow, Audumbla, whose origins are also linked to the primordial elements of chaos. Audumbla is notable for her ability to not only sustain life, but also bring forth new beings from the confines of the primordial ice. By licking salty ice blocks, Audumbla revealed Buri, who is the grandfather of Odin. Ymir himself is capable of generating life. From his armpits, he gave birth to a male and female giant, while his legs miraculously produced a 6-headed giant. Ymir is considered the ancestor of the Jotnar, and he was so large that the entire world was crafted from his body. The gods Odin, Vili, and Ve slew Ymir and used his body as the raw material for the world. Ymir's flesh became the earth, his blood the seas, his bones the mountains, his teeth the rocks, and his skull the sky. The clouds are nothing but Ymir's brains and scattered thoughts. Number 3. Odin, the god of creation. Odin is the father of the Aesir gods and the chief deity in Norse mythology. He is associated with wisdom, healing, poetry, victory in battle, but also death and the gallows. Odin created the world together with his brothers Vili and Ve, using the body of Ymir. Then, they created the first human beings, Ask and Embla, from 2 wooden statues that they carved. Odin breathed life into these statues, while Vili and Ve breathed will and perception. Odin was known for his relentless pursuit of knowledge. He sacrificed one of his eyes in order to drink from the well of the god of wisdom Mimir. He also let his body hang from the world tree Yggdrasil for 9 nights in a sacrifice to himself in order to gain knowledge of the runes. These symbols, forming the alphabet of the Norse people, were also used for magic rituals and divination. Later on, when the wise god Mimir was decapitated, Odin recovered his head and embalmed it, so that Mimir's head could give answers to his questions. Odin rides an 8-legged horse called Sleipnir. He is accompanied by 2 faithful ravens, Hugin and Munin, who bring him information from across the world. He owns enchanted artifacts, a spear called Gungnir, which never misses its target, and a gold ring called Draupnir, which has the magical property of multiplying itself, producing 8 new rings every 9th night. Odin presides over Valhalla, a majestic hall located in Asgard where some of the bravest warriors who died in battle revel in feasts. Odin never eats at these feasts. He only drinks wine and throws the food to his wolves. Odin's throne in Asgard is situated so high that he can see all the 9 worlds from above. Nevertheless, he often feels the need to take a closer look, so he travels on foot under the guise of an old man. Number 4. Ratatoskr, the messenger squirrel. The giant ash tree Yggdrasil stands at the center of the universe and supports life in all its forms. 4 stags are said to be grazing on its foliage, while the dragon Nidhogg gnaws at its roots. An eagle is perched at the top of Yggdrasil, and between the eagle's eyes sits the hawk Vedrfolnir. The most diligent inhabitant of Yggdrasil is the squirrel Ratatoskr, which scurries up and down the trunk to carry messages between the eagle perched at the top and the dragon below. The content of these messages is often malicious, taunts and insults which ensure that the eagle and the dragon always remain enemies. It is unknown whether Ratatoskr is driven by mischief or is fulfilling a deeper, perhaps necessary role in maintaining the balance and tension within the cosmological order. Without conflict, there is no renewal, so Ratatoskr prevents the universe from stagnation. Number 5. The Norns, the goddesses of fate. The Norns are 3 primordial beings whose origin is shrouded in mystery. Their role in shaping fate is intertwined with creation and the evolution of time itself. One of the Norns is called Njord, and she represents the past. Verdandi is the ever-changing goddess of the present. Skuld is the goddess of the future, always looming yet unknown and mysterious. The Norns are frequently depicted as weavers, creating a vast tapestry that represents the lives and destinies of all beings. They live at the base of Yggdrasil, near a magical spring called the Well of Urd. This well is the source of wisdom and prophecy often sought by heroes from all the 9 worlds. Its water is also a symbol of life and regeneration. The Norns pour it over Yggdrasil's branches so that they never wither. Number 6. Sol and Mani, the gods of the sun and the moon. In Norse mythology, celestial bodies were formed at the beginning of creation, when some sparks from Muspelheim were scattered into the void. From this glowing matter, the gods crafted 2 chariots to be used by Sol and Mani, who were seen as the personifications of the sun and the moon, respectively. Sol and Mani were sister and brother, the children of Mundilfari, and their obligation to ride the chariots each day was seen as a form of punishment for their arrogance. Sol is luminous and triumphant. She rides a chariot drawn by 2 horses, and so does Mani. Sol wields a shield named Svalin, which protects the 9 worlds from her radiance. If she were to lower the shield, it is said that mountain and sea would burn up. Mani is a mysterious god, and his association with the moon makes him somewhat effeminate, in my opinion. I also associate him and his sister with the aesthetic of German expressionist cinema because it gives them an otherworldly look, and it also emphasizes their connection to light. But then again, it is my personal interpretation. Sol and Mani are chased every day by 2 monstrous wolves, Skoll and Hati. These wolves are the embodiment of darkness, and it is said that at the end times they will eventually catch their prey. They will devour the sun and the moon. Number 7. Frigg, the goddess of the clouds. Frigg is the powerful matriarch of Norse mythology. She is Odin's wife and the mother of some of his children. She lives with Odin in Asgard, their world being connected to the world of humans through a burning rainbow bridge called Bifrost. Frigg's residence in Asgard is Fensalir, a magical hall situated in the marshlands. Frigg is often depicted spinning the clouds, an activity that is crucial to the world, as clouds represent rain and fertility. She's also a goddess of prophecy, interpretation of dreams, and divination. As a practitioner of Surtr, or Norse magic, Frigg is very similar to another important goddess named Freyja. Some theories claim that they might have originally been aspects of the same deity. I like to see them as different. Several goddesses serve as Frigg's servants. Fulla, Frigg's confidant, whose name means plenitude and who is portrayed holding a box full of riches. Lofn, who is known for arranging marriages, even when they have been forbidden. Hlin, who protects those whom Frigg wishes to save from danger, and Gna, a goddess who runs errands for Frigg and rides the sea-treading horse Hofvarpnir. The most famous myth about Frigg is her attempt to protect her son Baldur. Deeply distressed by a foreboding prophecy, Frigg tried to extract promises from all the objects in the world, plant or animal, that they will never harm Baldur. However, she overlooked mistletoe, which Loki later exploited to orchestrate Baldur's death. Despite her efforts and deep love, Frigg's attempt to shield Baldur ultimately ended in tragedy, highlighting themes of fate and inevitability central to Norse mythology. Number 8. Njord, the god of sailing. Njord is an important Norse god associated with the sea, the winds, seafaring, and wealth. He is a member of the Vanir family, together with his children, Freyja and Freyr. Unlike the Aesir gods, who symbolize war, power, and governance, the Vanir gods embody fertility, abundance, and magic. Njord was considered a crucial figure in maintaining the prosperity of the Norse people. His ability to control the sea and winds made him the patron of sailors and fishermen who depended on his favor for safe and successful voyages. His residence is Noatun, and I interpreted it to be a sort of ship palace, which Njord used to travel to Asgard after the Aesir-Vanir War. Njord was probably paired with Nerthus, an ancient Germanic goddess of the earth described by the Roman historian Tacitus. Tacitus writes that a veiled representation of Nerthus stood in a chariot in a sacred grove, and when the chariot was taken on a journey to sanctify the land, weapons were put away, and people strived to maintain peace, as if the goddess were physically among them. This is in accordance with the Vanir gods, symbolizing peace. In the Eddas, Njord marries a giantess, Skadi, who sought compensation for the death of her father, Thiazi. It is said that Skadi had to choose her husband based on the aspect of his feet, so she was tricked to marry Njord, whose feet were beautiful and glittering. Later on, Skadi and Njord split because she wanted to return to the mountains. Number 9. Mimir, the god of wisdom. The Aesir-Vanir War started with a very strange event when a sorceress from Vanaheim visited Asgard. Her name was Gulveig, and she intrigued the Aesir gods with her power. The Aesir gods, who lived according to the values of law and honor, felt corrupted by her magic and also by the material possessions that she offered, as her name means gold drunk. To punish her, they pierced her with spears and burnt her alive 3 times, but each time she came back to life more powerful than before. This incident caused the Aesir and the Vanir gods to hate each other. After a long war in which they concentrated all of their efforts, they eventually sealed a truce, and each tribe had to send some hostages to the other tribe. The Vanir sent Njord, Freyja, and Freyr to Asgard, while the Aesir sent Mimir and Ymir to Vanaheim. Mimir was known for his great wisdom. His well, located beneath the world tree Yggdrasil, was the place where Odin sacrificed his eye. As for Ymir, he was so indecisive and dim-witted when Mimir was not around to help him that he angered the Vanir gods. They decided to decapitate Mimir and send his head back to Asgard. Odin managed to resuscitate the head by embalming it and chanting charms over it. The stories of Gulveig and Mimir speak of the intricacies of Viking diplomacy, where cunning, wisdom, and caution were needed to circumvent potential dangers. Number 10. Thor, the god of thunder. Thor is one of the central gods of Norse mythology, and during the Viking Age he was considered almost as important as Odin. He is a brave warrior yielding a magical hammer called Mjolnir, which can return to his hand after being thrown. Thor is the son of Odin, and the lesser-known earth goddess Njord. He defends the orderly realm of his father by fighting the Jotnar, who are creatures of chaos and destruction. Thor's archenemy is the giant snake Jormungandr, which lives under the sea and coils itself around Midgard. In one of the myths, Thor manages to hook Jormungandr during a fishing trip, but he strikes too late with the hammer, so the snake vanishes back into the ocean. Thor's ability to protect is also spiritual. He uses Mjolnir for rituals of consecration, such as marriages and the blessing of a newborn. Hammer pendants, amulets bearing resemblance of Mjolnir have been used by the Scandinavian people in the past. As a storm god, Thor plays a crucial role in supporting agriculture. He deeply loves his wife Sif, whose long golden hair can be seen as a symbol for the grain fields that Thor nurtures. Thor's children, Modi, Magni, and Thrud, closely resemble their father in strength and valor. Many stories have been told about Thor. One day, the giants steal his hammer, and in exchange for its return, they demand the goddess Freyja's hand in marriage. Unwilling to involve Freyja in this conflict, Thor dresses up as a bride and goes to Jotunheim pretending to be Freyja. The giants are tricked and offer him the hammer, then Thor reveals his true identity and punishes them all. In another story, Thor outsmarts a dwarf called Alvis in a riddle contest. Although Alvis answers all the riddles correctly, Thor tricks him into staying until dawn, when the first light of day turns the dwarf to stone. In many ways, Thor represents the masculine ideal. But he has some notable flaws. He's loud and brash and easily loses his temper. At Baldur's funeral, for example, Thor was so annoyed when a dwarf called Litur accidentally interrupted his speech that he kicked him into the pyre. Also, Thor has an appetite for food that baffles everyone. He goes so far as to kill and eat the goats that pull his chariot, but then he brings them back to life by magically blessing their bones wrapped in their hides. All in all, Thor is a complex and fascinating character, and his legacy endures to this day. Number 11. The Valkyries, goddesses of war. The Valkyries are a powerful group of entities central to Norse mythology. They are depicted as warrior maidens serving the god Odin, and they often ride winged horses embodying both the beauty and ferocity of the warrior spirit. The Valkyries oversee battles and are responsible for selecting the bravest warriors who die in combat, guiding their souls to Valhalla, Odin's Hall of the Slain. Half of these warriors stay with Odin, while the other half are sent to the goddess Freyja to reside in her hall in Folkvangr. In Valhalla, the slain warriors, known as the Einherjar, feast, revel, drink mead, and prepare for Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world, where they will fight alongside the gods. It is worthy to note that anyone who dies outside of battle has no chance of entering Valhalla or Folkvangr, and instead goes to a gloomy place called Hell. The Valkyries are known to influence the tide of the battle either through brute force intervention or by using oaths and spells. Notable Valkyries include Skuld, the goddess of future, who is also one of the three Norns, and Eir, the goddess of medicine. Sigurdrifa, whose name means driver to victory, is a Valkyrie who defied Odin by granting victory to a king whom Odin wanted to be defeated. As a punishment, Odin cursed her to prick her finger with a thorn and fall into a deep sleep. In later stories, this Valkyrie is called Brunhilde, and her sleeping body is surrounded by a ring of fire that can only be passed by a brave warrior. The Valkyries have inspired many artists with their fascinating complexity, being both fierce warriors and ethereal guides of the dead. Richard Wagner probably captured their essence most vividly in his four-opera cycle, The Ring of the Nibelung. Number 12. Freyja, the goddess of love. Freyja symbolizes not only love but also beauty, magic, and, to a certain degree, war. She is a Vanir goddess and the daughter of Njord. She rides a chariot drawn by cats, though I suspect that ordinary house cats would be unable to pull such a vehicle. Therefore, I envision them as lynxes, wild animals that embody Freyja's mystery and elegance. Freyja lives in Folkvanger, a majestic meadow in Asgard where she presides over her hall, Sessrumnir. Half of the heroes slain in battle are brought to Freyja's hall, while the other half go to Odin. As the goddess of love, Freyja influences human affection and desire through her mastery of Norse magic, known as Surtr. She is invoked by those seeking love, and she has the power to enhance a person's charm and allure, thus enabling new relationships. Freyja is surrounded by an aura of enchantment. She owns a magical necklace named Brisingamen and a feather cloak that allows her to transform into a falcon. Freyja's understanding of love is profound and intensely personal. She knows the pain of love lost and the sorrow of abandonment. It is said that Freyja has a husband named Odin, who is often away on his travels. In his absence, Freyja sheds tears of red gold. Freyja's pride and joy is her daughter Nos, a little girl whose name means treasure or jewel, because she is bright and radiant. Number 13. Freyr, the god of fertility. Freyr is one of the most revered deities in Norse mythology, and he is associated with agriculture, prosperity, and peace. He is a member of the Vanir family and the twin brother of Freyja. The names Freyr and Freyja simply mean lord and lady, with an older name for Freyr being Yngvi. Freyr owns Gullinbursti, a golden bristled boar that can glow in the dark and is harnessed to Freyr's chariot. In addition, Freyr owns the ship Skidbladnir, which can be folded up to fit in one's pocket, and always benefits from favorable winds, making it an ideal vessel for sea travel. Freyr rules over Alfheim, the realm of the Light Elves, and it is likely that Skirnir, his most trusted servant, is an elf. It is said that one day Freyr took advantage of Odin's absence to climb to Odin's throne, Hlidskialf, which is the highest point in the universe. From there, he saw the beautiful giantess Gerd in Jotunheim, and immediately fell deeply in love with her. Freyr could no longer focus on his agricultural tasks, as he was always thinking about Gerd. His longing became so intense that he finally sent Skirnir to court her on his behalf, offering gifts and promises. To secure Gerd's hand in marriage, Freyr had to give his magical sword, a weapon that could fight on its own, to Skirnir. This relinquishment of his sword left Freyr vulnerable in future battles and underscores the depth of Freyr's love and desire for Gerd. From Freyr and Gerd's union sprang the first lineage of Swedish kings, beginning with Fjolnir, a legendary ruler who was the son and successor of Freyr. Number 14, Sif, the goddess of beauty. Sif is known for her strikingly long golden hair, a feature that lends her an ethereal beauty and a sense of divine grace. She is Thor's wife, yet she remains shrouded in mystery. Some commentators have associated Sif with the bounty of the harvest, seeing her golden locks as symbolic of grain. Sif is involved in one of the most famous myths of Norse mythology, although her role in that myth is rather passive. It is said that one night the trickster god Loki sneaked into her room and cut off her golden hair while she was sleeping. When Sif woke up, she felt humiliated by this prank, and Thor was so angry that he threatened to crush every bone in Loki's body. To remedy his misdeed, Loki sought the help of the dwarves, and to make sure that the gods would be pleased, he pitted the dwarves against each other in a contest. The sons of Ivaldi versus the brothers Brokkr and Eitri. The sons of Ivaldi produced golden hair for Sif, the ship Skidbladnir for Freyr, and the spear Gungnir for Odin. The brothers Brokkr and Eitri produced the golden boar Gullinbursti for Freyr, the ring Draupnir for Odin, and the hammer Mjolnir for Thor. The story ends on a positive note, with the Norse gods pleased with their gifts, Sif's beauty restored, and the dwarves Brokkr and Eitri declared winners. As a reward, the two dwarves demand Loki's head, but Loki cleverly argues that they have only asked for his head, not his neck. So, taking his head would be impossible, as that would include damaging his neck. The dwarves, unable to claim their full reward, settle for sewing Loki's mouth shut as punishment for his trickery. Number 15, Kvasir, the god of eloquence. Kvasir appears at the end of the Aesir-Vanir War as a spirit of reconciliation. To seal their peace, the Aesir and Vanir gods followed an ancient custom and spat into a shared vessel. From this sacred mixture, Kvasir emerged, embodying the newfound unity between the two divine factions. His creation symbolizes the collective wisdom of both the Aesir and Vanir, making him the wisest being in the world. Kvasir traveled through the 9 worlds, imparting his vast knowledge to all who would listen. However, his unparalleled intellect made him a target of envy. 2 malevolent dwarves named Fjalar and Galar captured him, and after brutally ending his life, they drained his blood and mixed it with honey to create the mead of poetry. This mythical beverage is said to grant immense intelligence and eloquence to any drinker. However, the 2 dwarves were not able to keep it. A giant called Suttung took it from them as compensation for another crime that the dwarves committed. He stored the mead in 3 vats at the center of a mountain and tasked his daughter Gunnliod with guarding the vats. Hearing this, the god Odin assumed the identity of a farm worker, Bjolverk, and went to serve Baugi, Suttung's brother, for an entire summer, with the intention to steal the mead. He seduced Gunnliod, and she allowed him to take 3 sips of the mead for each of the 3 nights that he spent with her. With 3 immense gulps, Odin emptied the vats, then morphed into an eagle and flew away to Asgard. Suttung followed him, also as an eagle, but Odin distracted him by excreting some of the mead into his face. This allowed Odin to reach Asgard safely and spit all the mead he had swallowed back into some containers. It is said that all the talented poets in the world drink from the mead of poetry that Odin stored in Asgard, while the untalented ones only drink from the excreted mead that Odin used to delay Suttung. As for Kvasir, his transformation into the mead of poetry after he died could symbolize the idea that knowledge and wisdom are eternal and can be passed on, even after the original source is gone. We reach the end of the first part of our presentation. We have explored some of the Norse gods who played a vital role in creating the world and preserving its harmony, from the primordial giant Ymir to the all-father Odin, the mighty Thor, and the enchanting Freyja. Each of these deities embodies unique aspects of the cosmos. In the second part, we will delve even deeper into this fascinating world, introducing more gods, uncovering new stories, witnessing fierce conflicts, and ultimately preparing for the apocalyptic war Ragnarok, where the fate of all creation will hang in the balance. Stay tuned for an epic continuation of this mythological journey.